Hey there, it's Dusty with yet another story for you. This one is my husband left our 5-year-old and 9-month-old home alone and refuses to explain why. My husband left our children alone and he refuses to admit to it or tell me where he was. Okay. Well, you know what? That's red flag worthy. I'm furious, enraged, and my husband keeps telling me I'm making a big deal about nothing. This just happened this weekend. I'm on the board of directors for a local nonprofit organization. I had to attend an event for that organization this past Saturday, and I was gone for most of the day. My husband was supposed to be home with our kids. I texted him a few times and he responded. When I called around midday, he didn't respond, but that's not very unusual. Shortly after that, I got a call from my mom. She said my son had just called her, and when she asked him what he and his sister were doing, he said they were both watching TV. When she asked where their dad was, he said his dad wasn't there. My mom asked him several other questions, and from my son's responses, she believed he was telling the truth and that my husband was not there and that there was no adult there at all. She said he didn't seem scared to be alone or worried about where his dad was at. He just called her to chat. He has a tablet designated for children, or he has a tablet designed for children with pre-programmed contacts that he can call. It's only a few people, just family members. I left the event immediately and began texting and calling my husband repeatedly. He didn't respond to my first several attempts. It took him about 10 minutes. I was halfway home at that point to respond. I was so confused, so worried, really mad, and I asked him where he was. He said he was at home. I told him our son had just told his grandmother that he was home alone with his baby sister watching TV about 15 minutes ago. My husband denied it, and I told him I was too upset to talk and drive. When I got home, I checked on the kids right away, and they were both fine. I asked my husband again, where was he? He said he was at home the entire time. He doesn't know what our son was talking about, but he must have just been confused since he had gone to the basement to do some laundry. I ran down to the basement. It was the same load of laundry I'd thrown in the dryer the night before. Oh. For a second, I was like, you know what? It's possible that he was there in the basement or something, and the kid was like, yeah, I haven't seen him. And maybe he hadn't seen him in 15 minutes, but that's not the end of the world. There's also a possibility that this 9-year-old is responsible enough to stay home and take care of his 5-year-old sibling. Oh, 5 years and 9 months. Oh. The oldest kid is 5. Okay, I was thinking it was a 5 and 9-year-old. I read the words, but it didn't sink in up here. No, much worse now. Much worse. I was like, oh, a 9-year-old could take care of a 5-year-old kid if they're responsible enough, but lying about it ain't okay. But no, a 9-month-old? Nope. Okay. Nope. You wouldn't leave. Oh, I'm sorry. Now I'm just lost. He didn't do any laundry while I was gone. I asked my husband why my son would be confused about whether his dad was home or not. Where in our home would he have gone, and for how long for our son to think his dad was not home? That doesn't make sense with a 5-year-old and a 9-month-old. You wouldn't leave them unattended for that long. Why was he nowhere to be found when my mom asked my son to go check certain areas of the house? I begged my husband to just admit it, to stop treating me like an idiot, and to stop accusing our son of lying. Just tell me the truth, because being lied to right to my face is incredibly maddening. He insists he was home, but he can't come up with any believable story of where he was at or what he was doing during that time. The way he answers me when I ask him about this and demand truthful answers is so dismissive. When I tell him, you left our children alone, he quickly says, no, I didn't. So anyway, he says I'm overreacting and let our son's imagination drive me crazy. I'm convinced he was gone. We don't have a Ring camera, but at least one of our neighbors does. I'm so upset about this that I'm tempted to ask our neighbor for the Ring footage.
Do it.
Yeah, exactly. Do it. I had to go out to my car and scream and cry because I got so upset. Of course, I didn't want my kids to see my reaction. I can't put into words how upset I am about the fact that I know he must have really left them alone but have no proof, and am being treated like I'm just paranoid and a nutcase of a mother and woman by him. Ooh, there's an update. Before we get into the updates, everybody in chat's like, do it. Do it.
Do you think he's cheating?
Do I think he's cheating? I mean, that's jumping to, worst case scenario. I guess there's worse, but that's pretty stinking bad. But it's got to be something bad enough for him to be either ashamed of or wanting really badly to hide. Whatever it is, he doesn't want her to know what it is. But whatever it is also bad enough to leave the kids, a 5-year-old and 9-month-old, alone and lie about it. It's pretty bad. Yeah, and then gaslight the holy hooey out of her. Or maybe he was hiding out in the barn. But either way, he was doing something he shouldn't have done, and he lied about it because the whole laundry thing was a bust. She myth busted him on that one. So it's stacking lies now. I don't think, Truth will out. Okay, Let's dive into the update. Last weekend, my husband left our 5-year-old and 9-month-old home alone while I was gone and then refused to admit it or provide a plausible explanation. Since then, we've had many arguments about it. I've been living in a constant state of anger and frustration. I don't want to fight about it anymore, but I couldn't help it, and I kept bringing it up again and again. I couldn't lay low and pretend to get over it while I waited for him to do it again and catch him in whatever was going on. I also knew that demanding he tell me the truth wasn't going to get me anywhere, since he had been refusing to talk and deflecting for days. All it was doing was making me enraged and feel like I was about to have a brain aneurysm. I told him to hand me his phone so I could check his location at the time. He refused. Why? Why? If you got nothing to hide, why are you so determined to hide shit? He said he wouldn't do it and that it was a violation of his privacy. He won't be treated that way and refuses to give in to my delusions. You think I enjoy being in a situation where I have to beg my husband to show me his phone so I can see where he was at? I hate it. I don't want to live that way. I told him it's simple. If he really was at home the entire time, just prove it. Why wouldn't he want to clear this whole thing up? I got so mad that he wouldn't turn over his phone that I told him I was going to the neighbors to get their doorbell footage. At first he was like, fine, go do it. He didn't think I actually would. He knows I don't like to air drama to others, so probably figured I'd just swallow all of this crap he's been giving me. Luckily, I was totally driven by anger at this point, so nothing was going to stop me from going to the neighbors. When I actually started to get out the door, he tried to stop me and followed me out the door. I felt pure anger rushing through my veins, nothing else. The neighbor, who I've probably said less than 10 words to in the entire time we lived together, told me he'd send me the footage. I went home, told my husband that the neighbor didn't have the footage from that day anymore, and I told him I just needed to go to the store and cool off. So I put the kids in the car and went and parked somewhere while I waited for the neighbor to send me the footage. I have the neighbor's number now too, and he told me if I need any more footage, he'll be happy to give it to me. Hey, W neighbor here. W neighbor's like, we don't really know each other. I got you, girl. The video shows a blue car I don't recognize show up and park in our driveway. A blonde woman gets out of the car and goes toward my house. She walks on the outside of our garage toward the gate leading to our backyard. The gate is too far back and out of the way to be seen on the doorbell footage. She and her car were there for 23 minutes. Imagine that. The car leaves right around the time that my husband called me to say he was home and had been home the entire time, as I was rushing home in a panic and calling him on repeat. One of the two possibilities as to where they went: she either came in through the side door of the house, which does provide direct access to the basement, or, and what is more likely, is that they were in the back most area of our yard, which is a gated pool area. Immediately behind our house is a grass lawn, then you step down a few steps and we have a patio, and then there's a fully gated area where the pool is. It's not like you think of when you picture a gated pool. It's a full 6-foot wood fence all the way around, plus even taller landscaping for added privacy. You can't see into that area at all unless you're inside. I think it's more likely that they were back there because my son said his dad's keys were gone, and we kept that gate locked with a key. The pool is closed for winter, but there is one small building back there, sort of like a shed we converted into a changing area, and there's a covered patio with furniture. I'm convinced that's where they were. So technically, he was home, but in a totally different area, removed from the house and where he couldn't see or hear the kids if something happened. I asked him how he could explain this. What were they doing? I obviously don't need him to tell me what they were doing, but for some reason I still had hope that he'd finally be honest. He wasn't contrite. He showed no remorse. He was just like, yeah, she was here, but I obviously never left. All right.
Asshole.
You're like, well, on a technicality. Who is she? How long had this been going on? And if he's going to be such a disgusting, despicable excuse of a man, then why couldn't he at least have found any other time and any other lie or excuse other than he was home alone with our kids? I told him I know this has happened before, and I demanded to know how many times he's done this and when he's been home alone with the kids. He swears this is the only time, but he still doesn't have the balls to confess to what they were doing. I don't believe him that this was the only time, FYI. Well, no shit. Why would he start being honest now? I still have so many questions, and I still feel my heart is beating 200 times a minute. My blood pressure is going through the roof. I've cried a lot, sobbed, begged for somebody to help me, yelled, screamed, ordered a bunch of books about divorce and custody, and you know what? The next day, after our multiple explosive fights, him putting his hands on me, and me seeing the evidence, he acted like everything was totally normal and like none of that stuff ever happened.
And he called her delusional.
Put hands on you? I woke up still seething, exhausted, broken, and he's acting like everything is totally normal. Well, yeah. That's what you do when you're gaslighting somebody. You try to brush it under the rug. I mean, that's like step 3 of this process, right? But he's trying to convince you that you're crazy. Now you have some evidence that somebody was here and he's busted partially, but he's like, I never left. Didn't lie about it. And then he's like, do, just going on a merry way, because I didn't do anything wrong. He said he was ordering breakfast to be delivered from our favorite breakfast place. He asked if I wanted to go to the store together later and try this new recipe for chili tonight. What? Why would I want to do any of these things with you now? Absolutely no acknowledgement of anything he's done or what's transpired between us in the past few days. He deserved an Oscar for how well he was able to act like none of that happened, completely comfortable and non-fazed. I know it's a waste of my energy, but I desperately want him to admit the full truth of what he did that day and any other day with this woman. I want to hear it from him. It won't change whatever he's done, but he could at least have the respect and decency to be honest now that he's been caught. That's a ridiculous thought though, right? How foolish of me to expect this man to show decency and honesty now. If he was a decent and honest man, then he wouldn't have had a strange woman over to our house and been out of sight from our kids for 23 minutes. His continued denial and refusal to admit to anything other than the bare minimum, his attitude like I'm somehow being controlling or infringing on his rights by asking for information, that's almost more hurtful than him cheating on me. Almost. That shows, that's the end of the story, by the way, that just shows the complete disregard he has for you, for your relationship, for you as a human being, for you as the mother of your children. No regard, no respect. You are filling a role in his vision, his world, and he needs you to just shut the up and to just do your job. And now he's trying to get some brownie points by like, oh yeah, I'm getting your favorite breakfast. You want to go do these things that you like doing, try to butter you up a little bit, but being so nonchalant about it. And you're right, like his ability to act this out in such a cold and calculated way is only more concerning. It is only more red flags. It is only more of a sign that this goes much deeper than you ever feared it does. What in the actual figgity He knew what he was doing. Tater, what do you think? Come on. Fresh piping hot tater. I know you got some thoughts on this shit.
I don't want your chili. I just want a divorce. Would have been my response to this asshole. But right now I'm going to read Angel's Super, which says, he is a brozo Ascon 1 and sucks indefinitely. And also, what kind of woman settles for being the side piece that gets screwed in the pool shed? Seriously. If this is your life, you do better.
Like, the ability to act like he's acting now is concerning, and having the children in his care with this detachment is extremely concerning.
His refusal to admit that he has done anything wrong is almost like him trying to protect himself, because there's like all these cracks happening in these multiple versions of reality that he's created for himself, where he gets to screw some woman outside, gross, while his wife's at work, and your 9-month-old baby and 5-year-old child are inside while you're outside cheating on your wife. Like, that is all I need to hear to know that you're a piece of shit. To know that you don't deserve this woman, you don't deserve your children, you deserve the worst because of what you did to this woman when the cracks started happening in the life that you've created. And it's only going to get worse. The more cracks show up, the worse he is going to treat this woman. And if you don't need him to admit what you already know. And what you already know is that he left your children alone. A woman showed up, was there for 20 minutes, and then left. You already know what happened. You don't need him to admit it, and getting him to admit this is only going to end in trauma for you and your kids. Get the out and stop. You don't need closure from this animal. You need actual help, and save your kids and get the away from him. If he put hands on you, you're done. You don't get a second chance. There's only escalation. And further wanting that admission of guilt is going to drive him to do more things. And you do not need that. You know the truth. Get out.
But the fact that he's already put hands on you should be, hopefully, enough to mitigate the risk and the fear of having to have the kids in his care anyway. And the fact that he left them alone. Whether it was, didn't leave the premises, doesn't matter. He left the house, and he blatantly lied about it.
Him going back to this normal version of himself, whatever that is more scary to me than him being unhinged, because this is a worse version of unhinged for me, because he's unwilling to face reality. And when he finally does, it's not going to be pretty.
And his tactics right now are cold and calculated.
Yeah.
And if he put his hands on you day one, And now day 2 is acting like nothing ever happened. He's acting like nothing ever happened because he's planning what's next.
Get out. Please, please.
If not for you, for your kids. Like, get out, create distance, get some documentation, file a police report, do the things you need to do.
Also, the amount of people in chat that said this was my ex.
Gosh.
What the people? Like, be better, do better. You get one life, and this ain't it. This is not how you treat other human beings. This is not how you treat anything on this planet. This is just utter disgust, in my opinion. And that's all I got.
That's sad. That's just sad. Tater Thunder, everybody. Thanks for coming up, giving your 2 cents. They're always worth $1 million. Did he get a brozo already? I don't think he did. I think that was a guy before. Yeah, he's getting all of it here. He gets the brozo. He gets the DFHB thumbs down. He gets the, you know what? He gets this. Black hole, baby. Black hole. If he had admitted to it and started working on a solution path here, he'd still be at ASCON 1, but wouldn't be into black hole status. He's at black hole because he's just running it into the ground and shows no signs of letting up on it at all.